Hi, welcome to VNN. We have with us Ambassador Praveen Verma for our discussion series, episode number 21?
21, I
21,
think.
yes.
We've forgotten, it's been such a long time.
It's been about 3 weeks now since we got together. I mean, I think you were enjoying spring and
Yes.
now that summer has come, I think things should heat up a little, isn't it?
It's already heating up. As a matter of fact, we had major events like Ontario elections during this period.
I know, and of course, Doug Ford's Progressive Conservatives they swept the polls. They increased their tally from 73 to 83, and I think now he is now in a dominant position in Ontario politics, and I
He
think
virtually demolished the opposition.
demolished the opposition, and he'll be, I think,
When you recall when he came in as a premier by default.
yes, it's that time, yes.
You see, first of all, there was a liberal fatigue, and everybody was fed up with the liberals. And Patrick Brown was riding the wave at
Yeah,
that time.
at that time,
And
yes.
suddenly, Patrick Brown was caught in his own web, and Doug Ford came in, and he became a premier by default because people voted for the liberal, for the progressive conservative.
Yeah, but I think now he has established himself, so
And
that,
you see, these initial years were very, very uncertain.
Yeah.
And people compared him like a stray bull in a china shop.
right.
And he had the hangover of his brother's reputation in Ontario. And therefore, he had to sort of, and he had no experience also in the sense that he became premier, and then he was sort of bumbling around here and there, and people and the media was totally against him, and it was also a legacy of Rob Ford.
Ford, yeah.
But then slowly he started recovering, but then again COVID came in. COVID also, there were so many mistakes he had done.
Yeah, but I think-
then all the leaders did
But I think
mistakes.
the people recognize that he has made honest mistakes. And he rectified himself.
He accepted.
He accepted the
He
mistakes.
accepted the
That is-
mistakes and tried to rectify as much as he could, because COVID was a phenomenon which
Yeah.
was out of everybody's control. And that's what sort of people sort of started liking him.
One good thing I noticed, during this election campaign, Doug Ford or the PC did not attack the Liberals. They did not attack the NDP.
Yeah.
They just focused on one slogan: "Get it done." That was their slogan. And he announced highway construction. Announced hospital construction. He visited so many factories in Hamilton, in southeastern Ontario, small northern Ontario towns, cities, where people saw him as a very down to earth and their own person.
Yeah.
I think that's what he changed his persona.
He changed his ideology
Yeah.
when he said that I don't care of any political stripes.
Right.
So his plans, whatever he put into action, did not see that it has to go according to a particular ideology. And therefore it sort of benefited the workers, the labor unions,
Yes.
and the people at large, the elderly. So he worked for all, and he made friends with the liberals, he made friends with NDP. So everybody was with him. And the new concept of his of a sort of a new coalition, where you see six private sector unions backed
They
him.
backed him. That's the amazing thing. And nothing. The NDP and the left wing, they thought they can support the construction unions, the automobile workers union. They all supported Ford.
Everybody appreciates him in the sense that he is a go-getter. In the sense that what he has
Yes.
promised, he has sort of tried to deliver.
Yeah.
And one of his promises in this election campaign was to keep his promises.
Yeah, sure.
Apart from all political parties have their agenda and they give promises, build hospitals, child care, elderly care, construction, highways. All these are platform for all parties in general.
Yeah, that's where I think the Liberals and the NDP floundered, because they attacked Ford.
Yeah.
They tried to portray him as a buffoon in the beginning, which that did not work. Then they started attacking his policies, highway construction. They were sort of scaremongering, saying this is going to destroy our green space, going to wreck our economies. But that's either what the people wanted it.
Yeah, and he totally demolished everybody and won everything. The election was announced by all the media giants within 2 hours.
And the funny thing was, the legacy media, whatever media was there, they were all endorsing the Liberals. Most of them.
Most of them,
And,
in the sense that they were hoping against hope.
Yes.
Let us see, let us say, because the wave was there, and the numbers were there, the polls were there, but still they were thinking that maybe something might happen at the last
Of course, there
moment.
was
which did not
apathy
happen.
because I think only a little above 40% people voted for the elections. That is another problem. in Ontario.
What happened is that
Lowest.
last time I think the voting percentage was around 50, 55,
Yeah, this time
58%.
it fell down
This
to
time
44,
48, 44%.
less, I think, less, yeah.
And what happened is that Ford got his own votes.
Yes, established voters.
And the other parties lost their votes.
Yeah.
So he won their things, and stalwarts in the Liberal and NDP have
all
lost
gone,
their
including I think Jagmeet Singh's brother Gurratan, he
Singh,
lost his own seat there. So
Yeah.
we can see the Stephen Del Duca lost his own seat.
lost his own seat.
That is that. So you see how much the Liberals thought they were thinking all the wrong way.
Now we have to see the next elections would be the federal elections and how the Ontario election props up PC in the federal election, because if you recall in the last election, people were hiding Doug Ford from the election as an election phase because they thought he would not be a vote catcher and generally will diminish their vote catch.
I think at the federal level also, I think people across Canada are feeling a bit of a fatigue with the NDP,
The liberal
coalition,
just setting in, but then again you've got leaders who are getting in so many new members registered in,
right.
which should encourage the PC party to see that they should be doing well.
I have a feeling the federal conservatives are also I think they are also seeing an upsurge across the country. That's what I feel. The federal conservatives, yeah.
Let's see. We'll be here to watch and see.
Another 2-3 years to go by. 2 years to go, yes. And coming to India, what's happening in India? Large-scale violence and arson and public demonstrations, burning of police stations, vehicles. Why?
I don't know. Something is going wrong in the sense that, you see, it all started with the BJP spokesperson
Was saying something
talking about Prophet
Islam
Muhammad.
and the Prophet, yeah.
Now, that was in the spur of the moment, and she later on apologized.
And action has been taken against her.
Action has been taken, and sort of it went.
Police case has been filed.
Yeah, it went unnoticed for quite some time. It took about 7-8 days.
Yeah.
And then suddenly the Qataris reacted. And once they reacted, the entire Arab world reacted. And once the entire Arab world reacted, the Muslim leadership in India has reacted.
They have taken up the...
And then the fringe elements on both sides have reacted. So that's a sequence of events which has really happened. And now what violence which you see is the fringe elements on both sides working together.
Yeah.
Now, fringe elements... Owaisi is not a fringe element, but then his followers are.
Yeah.
But
same thing with the BJP too.
Same thing with the BJP, but BJP has to be more responsible in the sense that
they are the ruling party. They are
the ruling party, and India has a lot to do with the Arab world in terms of our energy imports. And,
mainly the Gulf countries, rather, yeah.
And our leadership has been doing a lot to improve our relationship with these countries.
The Gulf
and there has been a great
response also from them.
Yeah. And we were moving in the direction, in a good space.
And then suddenly
this happens. And diplomatically speaking, this has happened, and after some time...
But they accepted. Qatar said we accept the action taken. The Gulf countries have now gone quiet. But now it has been taken up by the fringe elements in India, rather.
You see, that's what I was going to say, that in international politics, these things happen. They realize that we have taken appropriate steps. They realize that it was, everybody would have seen the interview, it was a spur of moment, and everybody realizes that these are things which are sometimes go out of control.
Yeah.
And media is like that.
Especially that
Indian media is also a part of this whole problem.
They are.
Because you see all these
there are a couple of
fringe elements being on the who should not
and
be there.
they try to encourage fight in the raucous debate, and it's not, I don't think it's a debate, it's sort of entertainment plus provocation. That's what's going on.
So they are also equally responsible. But what I would suggest is, what I think is that being the government, BJP would have to sort of
take quick action, fast and quick
action and be made more responsible.
Yeah.
I think they're already taking up steps for framing guidelines for the spokespersons and for leaders at large who go abroad. Now this guy Tejasvi Surya in Australia is saying absurd things over there.
Right.
Now these people spoil the entire effort taken by the diplomats and the leaders who have sort of strained themselves for so many years to get to a particular direction, get people thinking about them, drawing up alliances, agreements, and future trade.
And then the loose talk
and then this loose talk just loses everything. So it's something which I'm sure the government leadership would be thinking about it.
Hopefully.
And it has to be taken control. About these fringe elements, in India, it happens. When angers flare up very quickly, and all these mullahs keep on shouting, and these pandits keep on shouting, what can you do? This is a large family.
That has to be stringent police action on either side. Whoever commits a crime, whoever provokes things, arrest them, charge them. That's when to stop it. Anyway, coming to what's happening in Ukraine now. Ukraine looks like a stalemate, or Russia got upper hand in eastern Ukraine, of course.
Russia didn't achieve its goal, so it cannot be an upper hand anyway.
But they say they've got the eastern province anyway.
20% of Ukraine is under Russia.
So it's quite a lot.
And they have sort of covered the eastern flank completely, so that there can be no sort of infiltration from the eastern side. And the Russians now try to claim that they have achieved their goal as far as the eastern Ukraine is concerned. But their ultimate goal when it started was to subdue Kyiv itself, which did not happen. So and they have suffered great losses also, and this sanctions and all are there, and the access to sea is still not totally closed.
Although Mariupol has been taken, so they got the Crimea corridor opened. So I think, but I don't know how they can hold it. So we'll have to see what happens.
They will hold it because the Ukrainians, but there is a fatigue setting in over there also. And
world is also tired. And plus there are countries like Serbia, Hungary, they said they will not stop oil imports from Russia. They will not impose many sanctions. So there's a real break in between. Germany is very reluctant to join in the Western sanctions.
My understanding is that oil imports or gas imports never stopped from most of the countries.
No.
The pipelines were blocked. That's what they did. The import still went on, and it went through the ruble trade or whatever it is. There was a devious way to do it.
The NATO expansion, Sweden and Finland's application, that has now been stalled by Turkey.
That has been stalled by Turkey.
There's another problem going on there. And yesterday Turkey has threatened Greece, saying demilitarize the islands in the Aegean Sea. So there's another flare-up of
Turkey and Greece is an old story. It's an old story. It carries on because of that island. What is that called?
The Asian islands, of course. And then, of course, now what's happening in the Indo-Pacific now, there was this big Quad meeting that was done, and they agreed, the leaders tried to agree to form a, what is that called now?
Indo-Pacific Economic
Forum, for that, to have a chain of supply chain.
What we saw in this agreement, in this meeting, was that a further gelling of the four leaders, and a clear indication was given to the Chinese that although nothing was said in the joint statement, but whatever they said was to keep Indo-Pacific free, region free of what you call all misadventure.
Free movement of trade. And
movement of trade. About 30 to 40% of world trade crosses through those channels. Yes. And the law of sea is to be obeyed, and all sort of the beneficial efforts, the COVID and supply chain.
That's what they were more interested, so that all these countries can form a supply chain command and the link, and then reduce the dependence on China.
And just to keep because both India and USA are not part of TPP or
RCEP, the earlier RCEP, both India dropped out.
This thing formed out the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum, which is a forum which is not an economic alliance, but it will discuss steps to keep the supply chains and other.
One strange thing I noticed was, Canada is a member of the RCEP, which is dominated by China, of course. Why wasn't Canada invited to join this Indo-Pacific Economic Forum? Canada is also a Pacific country. Entire Pacific, Northern Pacific is Canada is a huge part there.
This is an offshoot of Quad, one would say. So, and China and Canada was never invited to the Quad. So I think there was no invitation, but most of the ASEAN countries have opted to join the forum. And actually, that was the purpose of having this, so that we have an alternative to ASEAN and the other.
Later on, if an economic alliance is formed, a formal alliance, then I think Canada should ask to join in. It's necessary.
But this is a forum; it's not an economic alliance, one would say. And if that sort of economic alliance, both India and USA in that area have already opted out of it, and Canada is also already a part of RCEP, so. That's the purpose.
Doesn't matter much.
Doesn't matter much. Yes.
Another, I think good news. I think it is good news. Canada has banned Huawei and ZTE from 5G networks in Canada, which all the Western countries have. NATO and US, the Five Eyes countries, they all banned the Chinese companies.
Okay.
India also has banned it, isn't it? Huawei and ZTE.
I don't.
Yes, I think they have given a circular saying they should not be allowed into the 5G networks in India. India is developing its own 5G network.
I'm not so clear about that.
Canada is banned now.
But their telephones, are they still there?
Telephones, but I think they are now trying to curb it, because I think a couple of Chinese companies dominate the Indian cell phone market.
The cell phone market is totally dominated by the Chinese. Another development which has happened in that area is India-Vietnam cooperation.
Defense Minister Rajnath Singh is in Vietnam.
They have a 10-year vision of defense cooperation. Much of it, India has extended line of credit for about $5 billion, and Vietnam would be buying lots of defense equipment from us, including, the story goes, as BrahMos.
They want BrahMos, but I don't know. India has not given. I think. They need Russia's permission or something like that. There's some accord there, isn't it? Although Philippines bought BrahMos system.
So they are asking for it. Let's see. The vision is there, 10-year vision. So there's a lot of time to come in, and I'm sure things will move in the right direction.
Sri Lanka, of course, the crisis continues.
Sri Lanka crisis continues.
How that can be solved.
Pakistan, again, the sort of political crisis continues.
Anyway, thank you, Ambassador Verma. Interesting discussion after our 3-week gap, and we'll meet again next week.
Definitely.
And continue our discussion series. Thank you for watching VNN, and hope to see all of you again next week.
Thank you.